Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about what is a posture. So posture is basically how our body parts are arranged in relation with other parts of the body. So how the head is arranged to the thorax, how the thorax is arranged to the lumbar, and how the lumbar is arranged to the pelvis or the sacral region and to the lower limb. So the basic arrangement of human body is what we call as posture. So any kind of alignment we have to look for what is the normal thing and what is the abnormal thing. So first we are going to discuss about what is the normal posture and what are the structures which are actually helping to attain this particular posture, and what are the structures which is maintaining this posture, or how this posture is maintained when we have some dynamic actions. So what's the definition of posture? So basically posture is defined as the relative arrangements of parts of the body. So either it's head on thorax or thorax on lumbar region, or lumbar on sacrum or sacrum on lower limb, or upper limb on thorax. Whatever is the arrangements of this part in relation to the body is called as posture. A good posture is that state of muscular and skeletal balance which protects the supporting structures of body against injury or progressive deformities, irrespective of attitude, whether it is erect standing, whether lying, stooping, whatever, in which these structures are working or resting. So the how we can define a good posture, how we can say that the person has a good posture, it mainly based on how the muscular works, or how the muscular efforts are helping to maintain this particular upright posture. So as we know, we have the skeletal system, and the skeletal system is surrounded with all the musculature. Even in the spine, we got the spine flexors, extensor, or there are group of muscles which are surrounding the skeletal structure to maintain this upright posture. So this muscle or the muscular forces is the one which is primarily acting to maintain this particular posture. And what will happen if there is some abnormalities in the muscular forces? If you talk about cervical region, the cervical region got both flexors and extensors. And these two flexors and extensors has to work in a particular manner to maintain this normal cervical lordosis. So if in case the flexor compartment muscles are weak, or the flexor compartment muscles are not able to resist this particular high amount of extensor muscles, or the high force which is produced by extensor group of muscles, then the cervical region can go for excessive lordotic curve. So if there is some muscular abnormalities either in one group or both the groups, it can result in some kind of postural abnormalities. So what's the result of this postural abnormality? Because of this muscular imbalance, there can be, or there is a high chance to get some excessive force on some particular regions in the body, and this excessive forces can augment some kind of deformities, or it will progress into some kind of degenerative disease as the age process. So that's the importance of this muscular balance in the posture. So if in case in any of this muscular imbalance, or if in case we got any muscular imbalance, it can result in some serious pathologies. So the muscular force is the one which is actually helping us to maintain this particular posture. An ideal standing posture would be one in which the body segments were aligned vertically and line of gravity pass through all joint axes. So that's how we can define as ideal standing posture. So in an ideal standing posture, the line of gravity should pass to, this is what the line of gravity. So if we can see in this, or in this picture, we can see that the line of gravity is actually passing through most of the joints in the upper body and in the lower limb. So this is how we can define a ideal posture. Normal body structures makes such an ideal posture impossible to achieve, but it is possible to attain a posture that is close to ideal. In optimal standing posture, the line of gravity is close to, but not through most joint axes. So as you can see in this picture, even though if we say that the ideal posture should possess that the line of gravity should pass through all the joints in human body, but in human variations or in human body it's not an appropriate definition. So we should have some adjustment in the human body when it comes to the definition of ideal posture. So in human body we can say that most of the joints are following this normal line of gravity passing through the joints, but there are some exceptions, mainly because of our spinal curvatures or mainly because of our bony changes. So we got this angle of inclination, or we have some excessive angles in our body. So all these kind of human things can play some kind of changes in the definition of ideal posture in human beings. So even though we say that all the lines should pass through the, all the joints should possess the line which is passing through, which is line of gravity, but in the human body we have, or we can have some kind of alterations. So posture may be either static or dynamic. So as we know, we have some static posture, means we are not moving, we are in a stable surface or we are in a stable position, and we also have some dynamic postures, which is actually the posture which we are moving. So the static posture is basically whether if you are standing, that's a static posture. If you are sitting, that's a static posture. If you are lying, that is also a static posture. And the second time is a dynamic posture, means if you are walking, it's a dynamic posture, and if you are running, it's a dynamic posture. All these are dynamic. That means something is moving with the posture. So the static posture, the two rules must be satisfied for stationary posture. So how we can define a static or a stationary posture? A vertical line directly through the center of gravity of body must be followed within the base of support. So we got base of support, that means we got 2 feet. And if you want to say that it's a stationary posture, the vertical line of the vertical line or the line of gravity, the vertical line of gravity should pass or fall in between these two base of support. That means we got 2 feet, that can be considered as a base of support, or whatever the structure which is in contact with the ground is what we call as a base of support. So if you look into the standing posture, the 2 feet or the foot are the base of support. So the vertical line should pass, or it should fall within these two base of support. The net torque or moment about each articulation of body must be zero. That means all the forces which is acting on that particular joint should be zero. There should not be any excessive force to one side or one compartment, or there should not be any less forces to other compartment. That means if you look into the spine, we got flexors and extensor. Both this group of muscles produce its own moment and its own torque. That means it will produce its own force. But if you want to say that it's an ideal posture, the forces which is acting on that particular joint should be zero. That means the flexor and the extensor compartment forces should be equal to zero. Then only we can say that it's an ideal posture. That means the joint should not have any excessive forces in any direction. So all the forces should be neutralized in that position. That means if we got one direction forces, there should be an other direction movement also in the same amount to equalize or to normalize these two forces. And next is dynamic posture. What is a dynamic posture? As its name suggests, it's a moving posture. This is a posture adapted while the body is in action. Any kind of action. If you're throwing something, if you are running, if you're walking, whatever the dynamic activities which we are doing, that comes under this dynamic posture. And next is how this posture got its control. How the normal body posture is controlled. So the posture control, which can be either static or dynamic, refers to a person's ability to maintain stability of body and body segments in response to forces that threaten to disturb the body's equilibrium. So as we said, the normal posture or the normal static posture has an equal amount of forces which is acting on both the directions, or the forces which is acting on that particular joint is zero. So if in case this equality in both the forces changes, that means if in particular component muscle forces are greater than other, there can be some chances, or there is a chance to disturb this normal postural settings. So that the time the body should have some amount of control to make the forces zero, and to maintain this normal equilibrium. So that's a posture control. The ability to maintain stability in the erect standing posture is a skill that the central nervous system learns using information from passive biomechanical elements, sensory systems, and muscles. So we got the central nervous system, which is actually possessing the ability to control this posture. It mainly done via the biomechanical elements, that means the bones and the ligaments, all those things. Next we got sensory systems. Each joint got its own sensory, its own proprioceptors, its own nociceptors, its own kinesioreceptors. All those receptors is actually helping to gain information about the status of that particular joint and the forces which is acting on that joint. So if in case any changes or any relative changes happening in the forces in the joint, all the receptors will detect that minute changes or minute changes in the force, and it will send some impulse to the central nervous system, and the central nervous system process that particular information, and it will take its own appropriate measures to maintain this particular posture. And there is also muscles. So we got agonist muscles and antagonist muscles. All these muscles will work in a normal pattern or in a comprehensive way to maintain this normal action. So these are the components which are actually helping the central nervous system to attain a proper posture. The CNS interprets and organizes inputs from various structures and systems and selects responses on the basis of past experience and the goals of response. And so the best example to this particular definition is that the Newton's third law of action. That means if there is an action, there will be a reaction. So if you are traveling, if you are standing in a moving bus, and if the bus got sudden brake, what will happen? We all have the tendency to move forward, or the body's weight will start to move forward. At that time, what the body's response is that we will step forward to equal to make a or to make the equilibrium of that forces. That means if there is a sudden break in the running bus, our body's center of mass will move forward, and forward the forward moved center of mass has to be opposed by some forces. To make that force to diminish or to make that force into equilibrium, we will step forward to maintain this particular posture. So that's what happens in our brain. So as a child, when the child starts to walk, the child will fall for many times, and the child learns that how to avoid this fall by stepping forward. So that's how our brain got its own memory to how to adapt with some situations where the equilibrium are not in the normal stage. So whenever there is a disruption in the equilibrium, our central nervous system know what are the strategies that can be adapted to combat with this particular situation. So that's happened with central nervous system. So whenever there is a disturbance in the normal equilibrium, the body will have its own some adaptations to maintain this equilibrium. Reactive or compensatory responses occur as a reactions to external forces that displace the body's center of mass. Proactive, that means the anticipatory responses, occurs in anticipation of internally generated destabilizing forces such as raising arm to catch a ball and bending forward to tie shoes. So when we talk about this responses, we have two kind of responses. First one is reactive and second one is proactive. In the reactive method, what will happen? There is already a forces applied and we are reacting to that particular forces to maintain that equilibrium. So as I said earlier, the example which is happening in the bus. So whenever there is a sudden brake, our center of mass will move forward, and to react to that particular situation, we will have some compensatory actions, either a step in or will catch forward. So that's a compensatory or a reactive methods. And we have something called proactive. That means before the forces take place, our body itself got some anticipatory movements to compensate with coming forces. And the example is that, and we will, the first one is that we'll raise the arms to catch a ball. So we need to maintain that particular equilibrium so that whenever there is a ball comes, we will raise the hand to maintain that particular posture or the equilibrium. Second one is we are bending forward to tie the shoes. So if we are not bending forward and if we are trying to tie the shoes, what will happen? The center of mass will move forward and will probably we have a fall within seconds. To avoid that particular situation, what will happen? What the body does? We are actually bend forward to maintain this equilibrium. So all these kind of things are memorized in the memory, in the brain or in the central nervous system. So whenever there is a situation, the brain itself will adapt adapt with adapt with the suitable strategies. And what are the major goals in posture control? The major goal of posture control in the standing position are to control body's orientation in space, maintain body center of mass over base of support, and stabilize the head regard to vertical so that the eye gaze is appropriately oriented. So this is the goal of the posture control. Why we actually need to have a posture control? And we should be able to maintain our body's position in space. That means if you are not lying in a bed, or if you are not sitting, if you are standing, or if you are running, or if you are walking, our body's segments has to be, or the body segment should maintain a proper position in the space. So that's the time when we actually need this posture control. And we have eyes, and the eyes should be appropriately oriented. This and stabilize the head with regard to vertical so that the eye gaze is appropriately oriented. So we have our eyes. So one of the primary aim of eye is to have a proper vision. And if you want to have a proper vision, our head has to be stabilized in a particular manner so we can access all our surroundings for a better vision. So if you want to stabilize this gaze of eyes, we should have a proper head and neck stability. Stabilizing the head with regard to vertical is the primary goal of postural regulation. So this is one of the primary goal our posture control possesses. That means the head has to be stabilized in a proper manner to have a proper eye gaze and to have a proper sensory or a visual sensory input from the surroundings. And next is, what are the elements in posture control? Maintenance of control of posture depends on the integrity of central nervous system, visual system, vestibular system, and the musculoskeletal system. So these are the four things which are actually maintaining the integrity of this posture control. First one is central nervous system. The central nervous system is composed of the receptors from the muscles, ligaments, or the joint surface till the brain. So in the receptors, we got proprioceptors, kinesioreceptors, nociceptors, all the receptors which are presenting in the joint or in the muscles are the primary units in central nervous system, and all these receptor activities are passed to the central nervous system to the peripheral nerves, and the peripheral nerves will connect with the spinal cord, and the spinal cord will take the signals to the brain, and the brain will process that particular information, and brain will send some descending actions or descending impulses, and the descending impulse has to be taken by the spinal cord, and it will pass to the peripheral nerves, and it will act on this particular surrounding structures. That is the function of central nervous system. Second one is visual system. We should have a proper vision to identify the surroundings and to anticipate what are the problems which we are going to face. So if in case if there is no proper visual system, or there is some problems with this visual vision, we can have some postural imbalance. And third one is vestibular system. That means we, in the inner ear, we have this semicircular canals, and in the semicircular canal we have some otolith. That means that there is a liquid in the semicircular canal, and this we got three semicircular canals to maintain orientation of three directions. That means the x and y, xy is the axis. So this three semicircular canal possess these three directions of movement. So this vestibular system, or the movement of this otolith, or the integrity of this vestibular system, or the movement of this otolith can produce some kind of, or the vestibular system is the one which is primarily maintaining this integrity of posture control. So one of the example is that if you are spinning for some time, so if you suddenly stop the spinning, still you have some kind of dizziness with your head. So that means this otolith, or the liquid in the semicircular canal, when you are spinning, the fluids in the semicircular canal is in continuous movement, and if you stop it suddenly, what will happen? The movement of this fluid or the otolith is not stopping in the semicircular canal, and it still moves. That will give you some kind of dizziness. So that's the importance of vestibular system in the posture control. And next one is integrity of musculoskeletal system. The one of the important thing is that we should have a proper muscular force, or the muscle should be able to produce a proper muscular force to maintain this posture, or to react, or to compensate some particular abnormal forces which is acting on our body. So if in the skeletal system, if you got any bony deformities in the spine, or in the upper limb, or in the lower limb, it can have some problems with normal posture control. So maintenance of posture is mainly by central nervous system, visual, visual, visual system, vestibular system, and the musculoskeletal system. Posture control is also depends on information received from receptors located in and around the joints. That means in the joint capsules, or in the ligaments, or in the tendons, as well as on the sole of the foot. So the feet is the primary one which is getting contact with the ground. So all the receptors which is presenting in the feet, all the sensory receptors for the pain, touch, all those sensory receptors are in the, which are present in the feet, is also playing an important role to maintaining this particular posture.